Hey, what it do, y'all? What it do? I'm back. Yes, indeed. Y'all gonna like this one. Y'all gonna like this one a lot. Yeah, y'all gonna like this one a whole lot. My thing is, we hear a lot about rotation, and I get it. A lot of people have a stigma about it because they think that's usually for someone that is a player. That's not necessarily the case. But also, um, you have the lesser feminine that they come from this mindset of, well, if men have a rotation, women can also have a rotation. And, without saying much, I'd say that she's correct. However, it's not realistic because realistically speaking, we've seen the results of the lesser feminine trying to have a rotation like a man. We see more dysfunction. We see more less masculine guys be born into this world. Do we not see this? We see more chaos. So obviously, there must be some order. There must definitely be some order in regards to when you see the greater masculine have a rotation. And we're going to talk about that. Now, we could also go into the idea of how players have a rotation, or is it really a rotation? But that's for another conversation. We're just simply talking about rotation in itself today. Okay? So, from my standpoint, my thoughts on having a rotation, or I could title this podcast, Most People Misunderstand a Rotation. And it could lean back to how, the stigma is out there in regards to them associating rotation with player. But once again, on that's for another conversation. But it's this idea that we talk about, you hear a lot of people talk about reciprocation. I've talked about reciprocation as well. And basically the bottom line is in regards to the feminine. If she's not going to reciprocate, it's time to vacate. I get that. But see, this is solely based on mano y mano. No rotation in mind. So your only outcome of that situation is that you had to vacate the situation. Kind of unfortunate. So my thing is, as a man, you don't want to be just left with a dry pocket at times, if you will. And then some people say, well, sometimes you need to go cold turkey in life. But to me, that's bringing about a lot of the problems that we see now in society where you see that the feminine and the masculine have not been able to bond. And it's going to get to the point of where a lot of us won't even know what it's like to have sex. A lot of us won't even remember what it's like to have sex, let alone have an intimacy with somebody. A lot of us are not going to know what that's like because we're constantly going cold turkey. See, here's the thing. In regards to rotation, given her lack of reciprocation. So I basically, in a nutshell, just explain my thoughts on rotation. The rotation supplements for one's lack of reciprocation. If she's not going to reciprocate, I can get that reciprocation elsewhere. Or maybe she's not the type that can reciprocate, so I can at least get that reciprocation elsewhere. Or maybe she has a different way of reciprocating, so I can get another type of reciprocation elsewhere. So some people can say like, well, this is you like still trying to find different voids to fill in between. It's not really that. It's more or less how you keep the machine running, how you stay firing on all cylinders. So the next best thing is to have a rotation and not worry so much about the reciprocation, because the rotation tends to be more automatic in many ways. There's not too much of a misfire from that regard, because at least, You know somebody out there that's going to have your best interests. And she's not worried about the others that you might know, because in her mind, she might be like, you know what? I'm not like them. You know, I have something different to offer, and it doesn't conflict with what else he has going on. I don't feel like I'm having to compete with other women. I don't feel the jealousy upon me, because I know he sees me as something special for him, and I'm glad that he sees me that way. And see, this is for a greater feminine that thinks that way. She don't need to be around the guy all the time. You know what I'm saying? If it's always mano y mano or monogamy, she gonna be around him all the time. I mean, there's gonna become a time where, you know, hey, you spend time with her and she gonna want her space. You know, contrary to popular belief, a real woman don't want a man around her like that all the time. She wants to be there when he needs her. And then, you know, she's got a life of her own too. You know, she's got a life of her own. And it's one that doesn't bother entertaining other men. Yeah, it's one that has nothing to do with entertaining another man, because a real woman don't need another man. She's happy with just that one man, because that's the way she's made. That's the way the feminine is designed, you know. But a lot of people don't want to talk about that. But, oh well, it is what it is. But she ain't trying to, basically, without saying much, she ain't trying to beat up her box. She ain't trying to beat up her box. Okay, you got these chicks that think they can do things like guys. Well, they're the ones that get the boxes beat up. They're the ones you see with the worn out boxes. And there's a difference between the way a box that's unworn out, if you will, looks, and then that's versus the box that is worn out. There is an actual physical difference between those two types of boxes. Okay. But to the young guy or the guy that's not really aware of things or a little naive, you might not know that, okay? But there is a difference. But this all happens, though, when one doesn't understand what rotation is all about. Rotation is actually masculine, okay? Rotation is masculine. But don't dwell too much on the reciprocation. Of course, you can get reciprocation. That's what she's designed for. But there's different ways and different levels of the type of reciprocation you can get. And sometimes you have to take it a step further than a reciprocation. Sometimes it's just about a rotation. That way, you don't have to worry about a certain type of misfire as you're moving along with your mojo. Thanks a million.